Namaste, viewers, and welcome to our Poetry Lab with Dr. Parikshit Singh. And the book we are discussing, if you've been following, is Satya Poems to My Father. Now, viewers, Satya means truth. And I want to tell you that poetic truth has greater power than factual truth, what we consider facts. Because facts without context don't make any sense. But the poet goes into the heart of things. And the poet, well, Shelley, Sidney, in the Western tradition, way back, they believed that the poet is the real legislator. And in India, we thought that the Kavi is a creator. The Greeks thought vates, the poet had a very high status. And Sri Aurobindo talks about the future poetry where the mantras are going to come back. But the point I'm making is in this collection you've seen, it operates on many dimensions. It crosses back and forth between life, the afterlife, the waking state, the dream state. So this time we're going to look at a dream poem partly, the dream and waking up. But I wanted to remind you of the last episode in the poem we read, The Rose and the Flame. There is a wonderful line in Eliot, when the fire and the rose will be one, So these are powerful symbols, and that's why I keep saying Satya is truth, and poetic truth many times goes into the heart of things, whereas data or facts as we understand them, don't lead to actually the apprehension of reality. So with these thoughts for you to reflect on, let's go straight into the poems. Page 57, A Dream and Its Wake.
A dream and its wake. The heart is a river in blue-white waves widening into sea. As I wake from a strange dream of butterflies flitting about your face, settling in your hair, one with large blue wings, with multiple eyes, flutters its lids and sips the sun. And I bring a camera in a flash and click, but the iPhone records no image on its blank screen. I open my eyes to the white ceiling and revolving wings, only the waves without sound and floating seamlessly in velvet tide, the sea, indifferentiable from sky, waves from light. I close my eyes and gaze again at the screen without face.
Yes, so it's a very moving poem once again, the butterfly metaphor. And this particular butterfly we've met earlier with its many eyes and its beautiful shimmering blue. And butterflies, as I told you, the name or the word for butterfly in Greek is psyche. And psyche also means the soul or the self. And that is how you get the word metempsychosis in ancient Greek, which actually means reincarnation. So, and this poem also made me think about, the flat line, in a hospital bed where the screen goes blank, or when the zigzag lines which suggest life, they collapse into a steady line. Or I was also, reminded of the near death experience accounts when people feel that they go through a tunnel and there's a kind of flash of light, a blinding flash. Everything is white. And then you're sort of entering into another dimension. So I think about this poem as a progression from the from the dream state to the waking state, and then from life to what is, lies beyond life, what is on the other side, as it were. And earlier also we've seen how the vibgyor of colors becomes white. So we've seen that in this collection, how that somehow suggests that transition that we've been talking about. And I love the image of the butterfly sipping the sun, you know. Yes. So over to you, Dr. Singh.
I haven't read this poem in a long time, so it was actually a surprise for me too. But I had to read it twice because it's not a simple poem. But from what this actually, if I remember correctly, this was a real dream. And I saw him, and then in your dream, you have all these impressions, which is you. When you have a dream, it's not, there's nothing outside, it's you projecting the dream to yourself. But when I kind of withdrew from the dream, or you're in that strange state where you're awakening, I had taken the iPhone and I had taken a picture, and that, I think, the flash woke me up. But there was no picture, there was no image left. And so that is the the reflection that is happening. There's only light left, there's nothing, it's only white. White is, again, as is my favorite color. So I think it projects on my images. I love to bring in some white somewhere. Wherever there's no color, I mix in a little white and it makes it look different. But white also has, as we have discussed in the past, very powerful symbolism, starting from, of course, uh, uh, the big white whale, if you remember, that is Ahab, is
Moby Dick
Moby
by
Dick.
Herman
And
Melville.
there are
Melville.
moments when the sea becomes absolutely white, and there are very powerful passages that everything becomes white. And I think Sartre commented on it. He loved that novel, and he described that whiteness is the color of existential being, of existing, of being. And I think the stark white facing you is a powerful symbol. And so it has, white recurs in our symbolism. There's very powerfully, and I think that is where it's coming out, where you really have nothing to say. It's an image of emptiness, and it's an image of fullness at the same time. So I think that's what came here. And but it's more than that. It's also a psychological state where I have myself changed. I'm myself flowing while I'm having this psychological impression of things, and these images flashing. I'm myself opening somewhere and becoming a wider person.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually, going to ask you about, that second set of images, the river, the ocean, and also the iPhone. Now, again, it's a play because, if you see something from a device, from an iPhone, that's one thing. But the eye, you know, that phone of subjectivity, it just goes blank, isn't it? Because everything is the self subsumes everything. And yeah, so I wasn't aware of this. You mentioned the image of the sea. I wasn't quite aware that the sea in Melville, because I've read that novel, and I wasn't, and I've written a paper on it actually, on Melville and Ahab. And usually the great white whale represents this
Yes.
huge challenge that the American hero faces, and he sacrifices everything to overcome that challenge. But yeah, there are many, many passages of the sea, the challenge of the sea, the monotony. But I couldn't, till you pointed it out just now, I didn't connect how the sea turns completely white, so that's something interesting. And
Hmm.
speaking of that other image, butterfly on coming out of a face or from a body, to me it's almost surrealistic. There are paintings and pictures of of I mean, Dali comes to mind, Frida Kahlo comes to mind, of, somehow butterflies or, insects or whatever emerging from in fact, a peaceful body in repose, and the body sort of disintegrates and these butterflies come out. So, in a way, it's also an image of grief to me and also of release. That's what I was trying to
Yes,
ask you.
yes,
Did you feel like that? Did you have that in mind?
yes. So this river image has been stayed with me since childhood. And as you know, river again. I'm just all these images. Where do they come from? So this river is our comes to us from a very our ancient Indic culture is river based. Of course, all great cultures in the beginning were around a river, but Indians have a great love for the Ganges and the Ganges widening. And if you have experienced being at the Ganges in the evenings when the river, of course, it's a wide river, but as the twilight falls, the river widens into an ocean and absorbs you, and it goes because the horizons kind of dissolve. It's a subjective experience, of course. All the horizons seem to dissolve into the Ganges itself, and it's a very unique experience. And then sometimes, if you have that arati, that special worship with all the thousands of lamps burning in the river, and then everything slowly just disappears into that white darkness, and you become one with that river that is flowing. You don't see it, but you are in the river, part of the river. You become the river. And that is, as since childhood, it has been a very powerful experience of that, being next to the river. And of course, as you know, a moving river that ends in the sea is a very powerful image. In fact, Iqbal had a very powerful line, if I remember. Banaya ishq ne dariyae na paida kara mujhko. My love turned me into a river without
Without an
boundaries.
ocean to receive it.
No, dariyae na paida kara means there's no it has no the shore.
Boundaries. It has no
It's
borders,
right, no shores.
no shore,
So
shoreless,
my
a
yes, my
shoreless
love has
river.
turned me into a shoreless river. So it's a very unique experience because it's takes you out into a different a feel. And so again, as a poet, you read, and all these images come back into the consciousness and kind of coalesce. And I think these are the images that have come. But this was a this was a real experience, growing and widening into something wordlessly. And the only way one can describe it was a flow. And that's how it was, a deep love for him widening into some eternal movement. That's all I like. And there was no word for it, just love for him.
Totally. I mean, shoreless rivers, it's like wordless experiences, But a poem to come it actually has this line: there was a man I once loved, So that love, the vastness. And of course, the Gita has that metaphor, of the rivers joining the ocean. It's a very
Yes,
powerful metaphor that as all rivers enter the ocean, all forms of worship come to me,
that's right.
says Krishna, the Purushottama.
Yes,
So, that merger, the vastness. And some of these rivers, as you say, when the banks widen, they are like the ocean, like Ganga Sagar. If you go to Ganga Sagar, the river is so wide. It's actually like the sea. It's almost like, when you go to the Gulf of Mexico, you
yes,
see so many rivers going in there. And where the sweet water ends and the salt water begins, is a mystery sometimes. But it's, yes, a dream and its wake. Now, the wake, we also have a wake when someone passes away, there's a meeting. People come and they remember that person. They talk about their qualities, So I think the poem works at many levels. And the reason I brought in the paintings and the imagery, many times butterflies leaving, as I was saying, the chest or the mouth or the face, is a metaphor of, the spirit taking off, leaving the body
Yes.
behind.
Yes. Yes.
And so the reason, as I said, I mentioned is because even in surrealism or whatever, they were trying to capture the logic of dreams, of the
Yes.
unconscious, you see?
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
why I said, I start by saying poetry tries to capture some of these things. I don't want to use the word capture, but give you a sense of that, uh,
Yes.
which is not normally available, through your eyes or through the iPhone either. So on that note, thank you, Dr. Singh,
Thank you.
for reading this poem and taking us through it. It is indeed a poetry lab. And we'll end this episode here. But viewers, the next poem is one of my favorites. It's called Invictus. So please go and check what that word means, all right? And join us soon. Thank you and namaste.